In this video, I'm going to show you how to place the front shock absorbers on this Ford E-350. Located right next to your front coil springs, let's get started. If your wheel has a hubcap, remove it with a pry bar on the edge here. Just be sure not to pry too far on the edge. You want to push it in a little bit, otherwise it could break. Use a 22mm socket to remove all 8 lug nuts and then pull the wheel off. And remove the wheel. I'm going to be showing you the driver's side because this is going to be the difficult side. The passenger side, somewhat easy, there's plenty of access, but here the body swoops down so much that you can barely even fit your hand, let alone see anything. Now there are a few ways around this, so let's talk about it. One option is to go right behind that brake pedal on the driver's side, of course, and pop off this grommet here, which will give you straight access to the top of that shock. That requires peeling the carpet away and, of course, working through a tiny little opening. Another option is to go from behind the frame and reach up and over to reach the top of the shock. And the last way, which is the way I'm going to do it, is to just go right over with a deep socket until you get it up on the shock and use the cutout on the shock body, or this top sleeve, to turn it as the socket on top is simply holding the mounting nut in place. Or if you have space to ratchet it back and forth, go right ahead. But those are the 3 main ways you're going to get this driver's side shock loosened up on the top. Here's a better view of what's happening back there. You can see the stud protruding up with the mounting nut and the washer and bushing right on top. So this is where I'm going to go through and clamp onto that nut. If you're doing this on jack and jack stands or a lift and the wheel is off the ground, add a support underneath the lower ball joint so that the entire front suspension doesn't drop down as soon as we disconnect that shock absorber. If you have a swivel head 1/4 inch drive 14mm socket, you'll actually be able to stick a ratchet down there and just spin the nut. Take the old mounting nut off, and then the bushing and the washer. From underneath, use an 18mm socket and unthread this mounting nut, holding the bottom of the shock onto this stud. As you do this, make sure you don't get your tool stuck in here. So at this point, I'm going to switch over to a shallower tool. Take this off. With the help of a pry bar, pull the shock off. Now take the shock, twist it, and remove it. Before we install the new shock, it's important to prime it or start it, and that entails pressing it down all the way so all of the oils inside can mix up. Press it, and now just let it come up by itself. I have a larger socket on here just to help me press a little bit easier. You can use whatever you want, but what you want to keep in mind is the shock needs to be facing straight up, not on the side, not upside down. Do this 3 to 4 times and then we'll be ready to install. On the top of the shock, install 1 metal washer facing up and 1 rubber bushing also facing up with this little bump towards the top of the stud. Bring this up into position and put it on the stud. I applied some silicone paste to the inside of the bushing as well as the stud to help this slide on a little bit better. Use that pry bar to help you out. All right, put the mounting nut on, bottom it out. All right, 59 foot-pounds is the torque for this mounting nut. All right, that's it right there. Now on top of the shock, take the other bushing and put it face down, just like this. And lastly, this washer also facing down. Clamp it all on with that mounting nut. Basically, once you have it all installed, this is what it should look like. The nut on top, then the washer facing down, and then that rubber bushing facing down. The new mounting nut is a 17mm socket. Oh, that's starting to spin the shock at the bottom. So just hold it, give it a couple more turns, and that should be plenty tight. That top bushing is much more squished than this one, and just by looking at it, this right here is plenty tight, between the bottom one being squished almost as big as the washer and the top one being squished, well, a little bit past the washer. But at this point, the suspension's pulling it down, so there's a lot of extra pressure on them. Once it's on the ground, it'll be kind of somewhere in between, where both of them are equally squished, right about as wide as the washer. So this is plenty tight right here. If you use the support, remove it. Let's put the wheel back on. Put back all 8 lug nuts, snug them up in a cross pattern to seat that wheel, and then also in a cross pattern, we're going to torque these to 148 foot-pounds. 148 foot-pounds in a cross pattern. Here we go. Double check them if you want. There you have it. Now install the hubcaps if your vehicle had some. And when you do this, you want to make sure that you line up this cutout here with the valve stem. And there you have it. Job is done. Take it for a road test.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.